Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is May 17th already, 2022. We just had an amazing informal vocal toning session led through by Patricia, Trish off, for those of you who are in the class and see her icon up there. I'm not sure, she just mouthed to me over the camera, but she's muted. Yeah, so appreciative of that. And I wanted to do a little bit of that because I find it, first of all, a very transformative, not merely exercise, but let's say endeavor, way of using our whole light body, harmonics of our voice, physicality, presence, ability to fly through time. So profound. Like I feel like I'm in a very different mental headspace before and after. So it's very transformative to my energy field. It relates very much to the teaching for today. Today is lesson 11, level 1. Again, I have my notes. If you see me looking off into the distance or into the near distance, it's because I'm on my notes here. And also wanted to inform you that Trish and I are collaborating on Vocal Toning Workshop Part 2, Advanced. And this one is also going to be about deep emotional release. And for those who want it, there will be a adjunct guided liver cleanse. You can see Chica's running around here today. She's got lots of energy. So yeah, the idea is it doesn't have to be a prerequisite. You don't have to have participated in the first vocal workshop, but these are new tones that are definitely profound and like I said, transformative to the energy field. They feel amazing to me. It's a demonstration and an exploration. Neither Trish nor I pretend to be experts. I don't know if there is such an expert, such a thing as expert in this. And Charlie wrote in the comments, he said, "Thank you, I'm such a beginner." Like, I think that we are all beginners, or let's say in exploratory mode in terms of what we're doing with our energy field and how these tones change and transform us. I sometimes joke, I'm like, we're through the looking glass, people, like we're in uncharted territory. We are in uncharted territory. So I don't think that there's anyone who's a complete expert, like ascension expert. We are definitely finding the tools of uplift that work for each one of us. So I found these tools to be very powerful. I love Trisha's guidance. And so, yeah, that's where the upcoming workshop begins this Friday. It is a 3-week commitment, and it is not only focusing on vocal toning techniques. That is really what we're going to do every day as like a energetic, transformative exercise. And then the work is really emotional, intellectual release, a lot of journaling, and also physical, somatic release. So if you are interested, I will bring the description in the comments section, or the sign up sheet will be in the description or in the comment section of this video. You can read all about it and contact me for more information if you are interested. So that's the first thing that is super wonderful that I'm inviting everyone to. The next thing is energetic anatomy, and the sun is the topic for today. It's basically sun gazing. Oh, Chiki's right here hugging me. So it's this is level 1, but this is actually a very profound teaching. And again, I recorded these lessons 10 years or so ago, a long time ago. It's when I lived in Woodstock. So, oh, Angela says that toning exercise made her hungry. That's beautiful. You need to feed your light body. So get some solidified light, and remember, transmit with your mouth crystals in real time the sensation of chomping on things and what it feels like to be absorbing the beautiful light into your body. And then today, what I'm going to do is teach you about and guide everyone through what sun gazing actually is. And this is, like I said, a practice that I've been doing for a very long amount of time. I came here as Aurora, as a walk-in into this body, not really knowing how denser bodies like this function, because I am familiar with the antediluvian time when everybody simply ate pure light. And I came here for the first couple of weeks, I was like, I'm eating sunlight. And I didn't understand that the sun is a bit different here, and our bodies are profoundly different here. We're on the journey of reclaiming this formation, or the way that our body is shaped and functions. It's been a long journey. Clearly, I've been here for 20 years. So it's been an exercise in radical self-compassion, which means acceptance. I'm like, I had to learn to accept, like, oh, I have a denser body. I need to feed my denser body with denser food, like whatever, avocados, scrambled eggs, good stuff. And I've also consistently done my sun gazing as a way to feed my light body. So that's my approach, and that's how I teach it and how I encourage each one of you. We are heading into a world, a transformative metamorphosis change of state, metamorphosis. That's what that means literally, where we will and we are becoming pure light beings, where we will not require the denser foods, but and while we are in this format, enjoy where you are or celebrate where you are in the journey. Be in acceptance, because food can be delicious, nourishing. It can be an example of real, pure love, like cosmic love, divine love, parental love from the sun and the stars and the cosmos. That is how I embody it. Not as something choreful, not as something merely mundane. It is a supernatural activity. It is an extra mundane activity. And also the procurement of food is an extra mundane activity. As many people are like, oh no, like I have to go to the store. It's such a, like my wrists go limp, like, oh, it's such a chore. We have to go to the store. I'm like, no, we are going to go manifest solidified light nutrients. And when you walk into the store, everything you look at, like you look at a bunch of apples in the produce section stacked up in a pyramid, you're like, wow, that's a lot of solidified light. Or like, coconut milk in a jug. You're like, wow, look at all that solidified light in there. And light is literally information. It is data. These are thoughts in the mind of the sun, the stars, and literally God, the divine presence. That is what we are eating. That is what we are putting into our bodies. So this is a complete recalibration from the perceived ennui, boredom. Oh, we have to eat eggs again. You are going to become quantum entangled with that breakfast. You're not just eating eggs, you're becoming quantum entangled with all of the matter that is miraculous, solidified light, everything that is a body process that happened inside of another organism named a chicken to be able to make that available to you, and that being's DNA and the potential for life within that egg, and then every amazing body process that happens in terms of your microbiome and unlocking that light enzymatically so that it can then be placed as puzzle pieces or building blocks within your own natural light body. All miracles or supernatural events or amazing extra mundane activities. This is the mindset. So I've been doing sun gazing for a very long amount of time. It is just a natural practice for me as a light being. It is something that I highly encourage and invite everyone to do. I used to live, like I said, in upstate New York, where for, let's say, from March to September, October, good time for sun gazing. But then November through February, not a lot of sun, very cloudy, very cold, and difficult to get outside. So I am like a plant that I really require to have sunlight all the time. And that's one of the reasons why I now live in California. It's a much sunnier climate. So I lived in Northern California for a little while. And again, it's kind of up in the redwoods where it can be very cloudy and there can be periods 3 weeks straight of rain. And I learned like that is not really ideal for me. And sometimes there would be times when it was cold and cloudy. And then there would be 1 minute when like the clouds would part and sun would come through the window. I would run to the window. I'd be like, sunlight, like get inside of me, get inside of me. So I was very thirsty and hungry there. When I moved to Southern California, what a transformation. I've lived in very warm, sunny places for about the past 5 or 6 years, and it's been so amazing to have consistent access to light for my light body. At the same time, I will not lie to you. I will not sugarcoat things. You recognize that we've been under arduous conditions on this planet, that what I was able to do 10 years ago in Woodstock has become more difficult, even though I'm now in a sunnier climate, due to a variety of things that have been perpetrated on our planet. My hands go like this. I'm not okay with it. And I have to acknowledge this. But I want to do in this teaching a very strong encouragement of you and to give you strength in what you're experiencing and emphasize over and over the inevitability of your success, the inevitability of your triumph, inevitability of that inner ascension timeline and aligning with pure light and becoming a coherent light body being. Being a coherent light body being means that we have state changed, metamorphosed out of the material denser levels of light, the slower, denser levels of light, and into faster, less dense experiences, more expansive, more freedom, and fewer inhibitions. So I will name the inhibitions of what we've experienced. There is definitely something that is an impediment to the true sun. Like here's the true sun, our true sun star, our true ball of possibilities and consciousness. Then there is something else that is either an artificial light source, like my light bulb is an artificial light source, or some kind of lens or bending or slowing or distortion of the light that should be coming to us directly from the sun. And that just needs to be acknowledged, and that I've spoken about it openly on my social media and on my Patreon for a long time. I don't want to ignore it, because that's like la la la, nothing is happening. We can't do that. But I also don't want to overemphasize it, giving it too much verbal energy. But it must be acknowledged that the sun, the quality of the light that's in the sky now is not the same as it was 10 years ago. And it's definitely not the same as it was 20 years ago. And that there is an unnatural aspect to what is being distorted or inhibited in its flow to us. And that there's a variety of different technological accoutrements that are doing this. So solar simulator, some kind of a lens, and then there are also particulates that are in the sky. And these are what are sprayed as chemtrails, little tiny particles that are also sometimes either creating a cloud cover or a gray haze, a smear, something that is changing the quality of the light. And also, it's not just out there, those tiny particles of nanotechnology have also, Trish is saying smart dust, that's exactly right. It is a self-assembling matter that has entered into not only the human body, but also bark of trees, animals, dogs, cats. It's on everything, it's in everything. It's ubiquitous in the environment, endemic in the environment now. It doesn't just coat your outside of your corneas, like get the Windex and clean off the windshield. It's not just the outside of your corneas. It can be in, Cheeky. Sorry guys, sorry, Cheeky's getting saucy. She hears someone walking outside. No, quiet down, thank you. It can be, and she might also be upset about chemtrails. She's like, I don't like chemtrails either, everyone. She's feeling our agitated emotions. Yeah, we honor you, Cheeky. In the actual aqueous interior of the eyes, like I have tons of unnatural floaters. They're like fibers that are not natural. They look exactly like fibers that people find under microscopes in weird places like hot dogs and stuff like that. So not very much fun to have those in the aqueous part of my eyes. And also these have also invaded, not fun to talk about, the optic nerve, which is the information carrying channel from eyes to brain, and also the occipital lobe at the back of your head that controls perception and eyesight. Yum, horrible, fun, not really at all. I'm being extremely facetious. It's a nightmare, it's terrible. I want you to know that God's presence and true Christ, the true Christ consciousness, is more powerful and more potent and more capable than any of these technological tinker toys, minor things, trinkets. I throw them out the window. I laugh at them. Because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. Like it seems like a lot. Planetary cleanup seems like a lot. Physical body cleanup seems like a lot. And all of these things are like kryptonite to Superman in the comic book series. If you don't know, I think almost everyone knows this reference. Superman, he is like, dun, 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 I'm Superman, and he is from another world, and he's incredibly powerful on this planet. But if you put the kryptonite near him, then his superpowers shrink away. Then he becomes just a regular guy, and he's a bit vulnerable. They've been spraying us with this stuff, kryptonite, in order to try to take away Christ's powers. But we are much more powerful than this. We overcome this in every single way. So that is the essence of this teaching. I still advocate for you to do sun gazing, because somewhere along the line, like I think it was a lovely friend and participant in my class, Ellie, who had been asking me, should I still sun gaze? Because if the sun isn't the real sun, am I ingesting a false light or doing something to my mind and to my body system that's not, that's detrimental rather for my spiritual development? Will I be guided in the wrong way? And I really had to think on this, because I will never sugarcoat things. And what I really have felt is that, yes, there's still a profound power in doing the physical sun gazing. And also I do a lot of flying rainbow lasagna-ing, jumping up and over, jumping past anything that is a wall, an impediment, a silly distraction, like pay attention to me, instead of pay attention to the real profound, coherent light consciousness that is available to us. So yes, our ascension has been very fraught. What should be a beautiful expansion and unfoldment has had all of these bumps in the road and challenges and inhibitions. Don't let it slow you down. Don't let your shoulders go down. Put your spine up, put your shoulders back. You will make it through this. We all shall make it through this. I will guide you and inspire you. And please know that your success and triumph is inevitable. So I do advocate for sun gazing, and I live now in a place where it's very close to the horizon, like the ocean is right there. So I'm able to look at the sun almost every day without any blockade, like no buildings, nothing in the way, to be able to really see it go down. And I try to take advantage of that and absorb the light as much as I can. So let's talk sun gazing. What is it? What are we talking about here? let me grab I want to do a few, hold on. Now I'm speaking in broken sentences here. Okay, because you can tell my brain is moving fast. Let me get a picture. Let me get a picture for me. Hold on a minute. Let me see. My thing's not right. Hold on. Exit. I want to spotlight me. Pin me. How do I pin me? Hold on a second. I'm going to press pause. Share screen with my magical everythingness. Great. So what I am referring to here is this beautiful picture that I use all the time as a diagram of the chakras so that you can see and know what I'm talking about. I will put over here, like, imagine that this is the sun and that these are the sun's beautiful emanations that are coming to us. The most important aspect of the anatomy that we're focusing on in this teaching, the lens in front of your face, which is indigo. I can make it the right blue color if you want me to. Switch on out to the right color. It's this beautiful, very intense blue color, but you can't see it on your screen as easily there. The violet chakra, that's up here at the top, your crown. Yeah, so we did some amazing toning that really was for those areas of our body. And the red chakra, which is down here at the base of the pelvis, the base of the spine. What we are doing when we are sun gazing is creating a bi-directional, two-way highway. Energy coming in, you could imagine it in through the crown. You can also imagine it in through your third eye, because those two aspects of anatomy really are so intertwined that they're it's like the heart lungs. They're very, very much together. And also energy that comes up from the bottom. This is not just one thing where you have, let's say, energy coming from the sun. I'll go back to my face. One direction would be energy coming from the sun. Higher dimensional, less dense realms, places where light and things that are moving at faster than the speed of light reside, and information that is more accurate and more focused than what we're experiencing here in this physicality realm. And then also from the other direction, from the level of pure physicality and the world of sensations and the five senses. Both of those things are coming to us. This is really important. So we have nourishment from all aspects of our being. I want to say both parents, but it's too anthropomorphic. From the sun, stars, neurology, realm of pure light, and also from the earth, earthly realm. I talk about this all the time. Matter, root word mother, mother's womb, where we are growing and gestating. From the denser realms, dense is not bad, and lower notes on the piano. That's not a bad note, that's just a dark, deep, low note. That can be very beautiful. Oh, you hear I've got my crazy music going on in there. Denser is not worse, lower vibration, lower frequency is not worse, but people often associate it with distortions and negative things. So we're also clear that. I don't know if you guys know about clearing, but just imagine like when magicians like swoop the tablecloth off of the table, like clear that out, clear that out. Good. So we've cleared out any negative affiliations between density, lower vibration, lower frequency, and the earth herself. This is big. Because I all want us, like I said, in eating food to celebrate the food that we eat. In having a physical body presence that is dense, celebrate what you have and where you are. And in that acceptance and celebration, you then arise into greater levels. But you don't arise by being like, I hate the physical, I punch the physical, I'm hating the physical. No, don't do that. Celebrate the physical and enjoy it while you're here. Because one day, be in a different format. So that's also with tasting your food and being fully immersed in the experience of being an alive person who eats food. Okay, this also is all about Christ consciousness and what is Christ, and becoming a light being that is swimming around in a world of pure light. So this, when I recorded this 10 years ago, came from a question that someone asked in class. Is the sun literally Christ consciousness? And how does that relate to sun worship in ancient history? I think I have to change my viewpoint here because Chiki is doing some playing with her toy over there. That's just, I don't think that we should have that on camera. We'll just Surreptitiously change over to here. Okay, good. Everybody's doing their energy thing this morning. I don't know if you guys caught that. I shouldn't even have said anything about it. My dog's very silly. The sun is much more than what science recognizes it to be. It is more than merely a nuclear furnace with electrochemical events emitting radiation, although it is all of those things on merely the physical descriptive level. But that would be like if I said about you guys, like, yes, you are biological meat suits and you emit body heat and, you know, have whatever effluvia that come off of you like dead skin cells or saliva or something like that. Like, that's accurate. That's who and what you are. But you're so much more than that. You're so much more. The sun is the center of consciousness, the most local emanator of ideas from the galactic center, most local relative to Earth. Got it? So Earth, if this is the Milky Way galaxy, and like my mouth is the center of the Milky Way galaxy, Earth is all the way over here at the periphery. We do not live in the downtown busy commerce section. We live all the way out on a rutted, you know, dirt path, rural highway 52, that the mail only gets delivered once a week. Like, we live far away from the center of all of this information, intelligence, activity. And that's also congruent with our level of development. Again, please be in acceptance and celebration of yourself. If you're an infant of consciousness, if you're a beginner, if you're just learning, if you're, you know, here in the rural areas of consciousness and not yet in the cosmopolitan, in the center of it all, if you're not there, that's okay. It's all right, because we still get broadcasts that come from the metropolitan, cosmopolitan place where all the art, music happenings and, you know, cool stuff is happening at the center of the galaxy. We get these broadcasts non-locally. So I'll read what I have written here, and then I'll also describe it to you, of course. Thoughts emanated from the galactic center, if they had to take the entire journey via physical space, point A to point B, would take so long to reach us in the far periphery of the galaxy where we reside that it would no longer be relevant. The galaxy would be at its end. Because again, stars have a lifespan or a limit to how long they exist, just as the human body or the dog body over there playing with her toy has a birth or coalescence, a sustenance, a lifespan, and then a death, or the star collapses into itself and becomes a black hole, a life cycle. Stars have life cycles, and the galaxy itself has a life cycle. And that in this level of reality, where again, we are in the world of life cycles and mortality, and we are moving into a world of continuance and sustenance and continuation. So this was where we are right now. And that if we waited for that signal to come from my mouth all the way out here from point A to point B, like the way that science understands linear radio waves or light wave broadcasts moving at the speed of light, by the time the signal got out there, everything would be kaput. Everything would be a black hole already. You would get a signal that would be like, hi guys, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And then by the time this reaches you, the galaxy is done. Like, the song is over. That dun, 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 end of the dun, 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 it's done. Like, that would be so wah. That would be very incredibly disappointing. That is why we don't have that going on, because the intelligence of the creator and the sustainer of the cosmos is profound. So what we have is a bending and folding of the fabric of time and space. As I've described in this class many, many times, like the little ant, instead of having to walk across all the way across the leaf or all the way across my flat plane of time or my hand over here, we fold the flat plane of time, space, and consciousness, bringing point A and point B closer together so that there is no space in between these two broadcasters. So the singularity at the center of the galaxy is folded to the singularity at the center of the sun, same singularity. And also big teaching that we're going to emphasize here, back to my whiteboard, the singularity at the center of the sun overlaps with the singularity that is in the center of you. So if I go to here, don't lose my annotation. No, that happens. If you don't go fast enough, the annotation disappears. It's like, what, like I was here, then I was gone. Get it while it lasts. Okay, here's the sun. Here's the singularity, like a portal that is at the center of the sun. And here's the singularity that is at the center of you. So if this is roughly your spine going up the center of your body, that's not anatomically correct, but it just is roughly the same. the singularity is kind of like at the top of your spine, the pivot point where your spine meets your skull. Like here's your skull, and then here's your vertebrae in your spine. The singularity is really right at the top of there. And it is a tiny miniature sun. This is very, very big in this teaching. This singularity and this singularity are the same singularity. They are absolutely connected together. The folding of time, space, and consciousness makes there be 0 inches in between you and that sun. You are part of the sun. Your body is solidified, coalesced light, and the singularity portal that is at the center of the sun is also the singularity portal that is in the center of your head. And much of our journey of awakening to Christ consciousness and the sustenance of moving beyond being a physical food eater is in recognition of that truth and cultivation of that inner sun that is inside of ourselves. Again, do not chastise yourself and be like, eat the inner sun, like stop eating food, like stop eating, like, whatever muffins or whatever you're eating right now. Eat the inner sun, because I was reading on social media today, like a lot of people are like, food is so contaminated, everything is so toxified, I just can't wait to be a breatharian. I'm like, yes, I understand your desperation and I understand the challenges of the world, but this is really a spiritual unfoldment that takes place in a cosmic timing, like the cosmic conductor saying, now do this, now do this, now do this. And it is not just about our convenience. Like, oops, like they're out of apples at the store. Well, better become a light eater. Time to do that. And I had to kind of learn that too. Like as I came here and I'm like on my gig, I'm like, yeah, I'm flying rainbow lasagnaing in. I'm on my gig. I'm being very lighthearted about all of my journey and my decisions clearly in my presentation today. But I was like, oh yeah, just gonna eat some light. This is gonna be simple. Like, no, this is not so simple, because I literally did not know about the eating of physical food, the procurement of physical food, food combinations in cooking, the availability of food. And also, I've talked about this a lot, the idea that all the food is locked up in the food room and you have to have magical pieces of paper to access the food. All of that is antithetical to where I come from. It's called the grocery store. Magical pieces of paper are called money. In order to get the pyramid, access to the pyramid of apples and solidified light that's there, you have to gain entry into the magical food room. And that I had to learn there were people that had no access to the magical food room. And then my heart really went down. I was like, this is not right. This is not the way it's supposed to be, because where I come from, the light is there. Everything is light, the light is there, and that there's no way to lock it up in a room and then say, you got to give me magic pieces of paper in order to be able to go and get the light. All of this is meant to be a big, giant, unbroken circuit of love, of sharing, and of giving. And we give and we receive and we send back in this beautiful circuit and loop that you can see from, I think, the expression on my face. Like that was like when I learned about lies, that lies could exist and all these different things. I was like, oh, wow, like this place makes my shoulders go down a little bit, but do not let your shoulders go down. And you guys know I'm not drinking wine, I'm drinking electrolytes. Okay. Trisha says, I did it for a while, easy to observe when starving in the forest, and then half an hour, a boost of energy, another half an hour, and you're running. Yeah, that I think that, yeah, and thank you for celebrating with me, cheers. Food is so essential to our cognitive abilities, to our spiritual growth, and to the basic functioning of our metabolism, of our cellular body. It is a miracle, and the fact that we have it is a miracle. Okay, there is a sense of higher intelligence at the center of the galaxy. So our sun is incredibly intelligent. Our sun is, I don't know if humans can even envision this or conceive of this, but it is an amazing, like, galactic supercomputer. Just one sun, one solar body, has an enormous amount of RAM, random access memory, or processing power. It is able to emanate all of these possibilities, probabilities, and timeline, and sustain various different reality structures, like keep all of these plates spinning, or keep all of these realities sustained and aloft with its cognitive ability. And it is also in a live presence. It's not like a dead, stupid thing up there. And it's definitely not something to be mined or siphoned off of, like, I know I need some energy, I'll go get from the sun. That would be like not to objectify the sun. It is a living being, a living presence, and everything that comes off of the sun is infinitely valuable. It's not like, oh, there's so much of it there. Like, just take a bucket, fill it up, take it home and do whatever you want with it. No, not like that at all. Every single photon is an infinite masterpiece and is quite essential in its quantum necessity, or being a puzzle piece in the world of time, space, and consciousness. There's nothing that's like extraneous. There's nothing that is disposable. So if you take one photon and you're like, oh, just yoink, I'll just take that photon. Like, you know, if you imagine some space races that are like, oh, like, we just came to your star system, our tachyon drives are, you know, low on energy. I'll just fuel up at your sun, like glug, glug, glug. I'll get some gasoline from your sun. Like, no, it doesn't work like that at all. That would be considered completely inappropriate, because the sun is meant to emit its time waves, possibilities, and timelines to this place here and to feed us. So let's say some other person comes in and is like, my tachyon drives, like I'm joking, like from science fiction stories or something, but my magical dilithium crystals need to be fueled up, get some energy from the sun. But it's like, you don't belong here. And that energy does not belong in your planet metal starship, and you're not supposed to do that here. All of that then becomes a disrespect of the beautiful organizational fabric of reality and consciousness as it is created. So you're starting to get to understand, like, some people have some organisms, creatures, benighted cultures or civilizations, quote unquote, in this world have a very low mentality in being able to assess and comprehend what suns and stars are, what consciousness is, and how to treat it respectfully. If you merely objectify it, then you're like, chomp, 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 give me some sunlight, I'm hungry. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Now you're starting to understand the hardware that I had to talk about that's blocking out our natural sunlight, our natural ascension waves. They're like, yoink, I'll get high on your stash. I'm a civilization, I use, Planck-like metal spaceship, which again is like, this is all illegal technology. I'm Aurora the Collective. We are cosmic law enforcement. We are all about cosmic laws and doing things properly. And that most of what this technology does is to subvert the natural order, put energy out of place. There's EOOP, energy out of place, EOOP, and matter out of place, MOOP, MOOP, EOOP and MOOP. That these things are out of place and they're not where they're supposed to be. And that is a mishmashing of the beautiful, incredibly detailed mosaic fabric of consciousness in the cosmos. It is disrespect. It is an affront, the sheer effrontery of these beings that they would do that. Totally inappropriate. Much of it is out of ignorance, but some of it is out of pure disrespect and service to self. Please understand that. So there is a higher intelligence at the center of the galaxy that is a supercomputer, quote unquote, whose processing power is even more enormous and grand scale than one star in our sky, which I've already described as the greatest super genius that you could possibly imagine. And gene is actually appropriate as a root word, genius, in terms of affecting DNA, affecting and transforming and behaviorally leading, guiding, and encouraging the behavior of our DNA. So you get thoughts, ideas, and guidance from the sun. You don't just get like, oh, like my face feels warm, my skin gets tan. Those things happen too. You don't just get nourishment in the sense of like gas goes in my car, makes me go. You get ideas, concepts, you get comprehension and capabilities from the sun. It is a nourishment that is on many more levels than just the merely metabolic, like ka-chugga chugga, I'm a steam engine, ka-chugga chugga. Now I chug along more and my muscles move. Like, that is truthful on the basic somatic, cellular, metabolic level. However, all of this is about feeding you with consciousness. Again, the negative confluent concept that I had to share with you this morning, that there are things that are trying to inhibit your consciousness, trying to inhibit your ascension growth. You're like, oh, block out all that sunlight, food, the ideas. Block out the sunlight, the food, the ideas, filter it out. And then we'll give you like a diminished, you'll still get light that will feel hot on your skin. It will still illuminate your eyes, but not necessarily have that same quotient of intelligence. You get it? It's kind of crappy. I'm smiling because it's not okay. It's not okay. Okay. The higher intelligence at the center of the galaxy has so much more connectivity, so many more neurons than a human brain, like billions of stars in one galaxy, all right? It is almost inconceivable. What's that movie? Inconceivable to the human scale organism, how vast that is. So just in one galaxy, there are an almost uncountable number of galaxies in our world. It is a vast, when I say supercomputer, let's say array of processing complexity. Because when I use the word computer, we go into levels of transhumanism that I am not embracing. And I think that you have heard my rap. Yes, Charlie Bass is The Princess Bride, the movie. That is my allusion to the wonderful, they're like, that's a desert island disc. If you only had one movie to watch that you would watch over and over, that's a good movie. Yes, there's my reference. The levels of complexity that the galaxy can handle in terms of multiple realities, multiple parallel realities, multiple organisms, multiple lives, and multiple vectors through the fabric of time and space. Who is organizing all of this? Like, this is divine intelligence and divine willpower, truly a God level consciousness, grand scale, so grand that it is difficult to even comprehend to our little fatty idea catchers. Like, I'm a little fatty idea catcher. I'm made of jello. Neurons fly through me. I get ideas. It's like small. And it can be challenging because there's only so much processing power here. So as a brief aside, what do I do? Because I'm in a body that has some neurological disruption as an artifact of having brain damage. And that's where epilepsy comes from too. What do? I use the stars as my cloud processing. Like when you store your phone pictures in the cloud, like there's not enough storage on my phone, I'll store it in the cloud. I'm like, there's not enough storage and processing power in my brain. So I will work with the cloud, and that is what I do. And that's literally in the life challenges that I've faced, especially over the past year, the battles that I've faced in these agenda-driven technology-using space races who are trying to diminish not only my consciousness levels and my perspective and my abilities and viewpoint, but all of you as well. The way that I've survived and maintained, been intact and maintained my presence, my identity, and the information that I contain is I store it in the cloud. So if they try to do mind wipes or lobotomies or different genetic mutilations to me, I'm like, oh, we're going to return to factory settings and then download it all from the cloud again. So please know that that is, it's my heritage. I come from the stars. That is my brain. That is not misappropriation. Like, that's literally my neurology up there. And then I have distilled myself and come into this body. So I am one outgrowth or accoutrement of this much, much larger thing. Know that the much, much larger thing exists, and it also exists as an indelible record of all that you are, of all that you've been through. I did some teachings over the past couple of weeks about the idea of doing a real-time broadcast in your life through meditation and mindfulness. This is the solar plexus over here, the level at which there is some kakapupu. That's a technical word, kakapupu. The disruptions that exist here that prevent energy signals from effectively going up and down in this bidirectional energy highway, it is called verbalized language. The Tower of Babel is the myth that people are most familiar with in this. People building a tower going up the spine to be able to talk to God. And then, of course, this idea of some kind of troubled deity figure being like, smashy, like who are you to try to talk to everyone and have connectivity to everyone in the whole entire world? I smashed your tower, Jenga tower falls down, and now you all have confused language. So this is mythology, and these are, of course, demiurges, not a true divine presence. True divine presence wants you to talk to it directly, embody it directly, have that ascension aha moment, aha, I am God, and also talk to God's self in the form of all of these other embodied humans, cute dogs, plants. Where's a plant? There's my plant over there, microbes, and everything else that is alive. Want God, the true divine presence, the true divine intelligence, true divine willpower, the person who is being, creature, organism, who is actually directing all of this amazing consciousness energy on its journey, on our journey, on self journey, wants you in general. Like, I want you, and wants you to be connected, and wants you to be intelligent, and wants you to be connected to self, and wants you to be interconnected to all levels of divinity. So God is not limiting you and smiting you. There are demiurges or lower egotistical aspects of, being in the world that are like, oh yeah, you're threatening to me, gotta knock you down a few paces. So that's what that is about. The inhibitory signals that have been implanted in humanity through genetic modification, not once but many times in your history, that have been taking humans from having a pristine mental cognitive environment where you are intimately connected to the supercomputer processing power of the sun, the galaxy, and the larger array of all light and all stars everywhere. Yoink, taking the rug out from underneath you and making you live mostly in the level of just one individuated consciousness, and then having to use language to be able to communicate with others. And also, the most troubling aspect, having language talking in your mind all the time, blah, 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 blah. And all of that is what blocks out the live stream signal strength to the sun and from the sun, and to the larger galaxy and from the larger galaxy. The thinker at the center of the galaxy is constantly sending out awareness. Time and space are folded, just like the little ant. Thought broadcasts do not have to go very far at all. Light enters the singularity point at the center of the galaxy, and then exits immediately at various different portals, one of which is our most local star, the sun. It exits through all of these different stars. When you look up at night, if you don't live in a city, and you see all of these many sparkling stars, like grains of sand on a beach, every single one of those stars is a singularity portal through which this profound stream of consciousness comes. All stars are like broadcast relay towers for the central sun, the center of consciousness in our Milky Way galaxy. Let's get to this now from the original question. Cultures that revered or worshiped the sun as a living presence were not primitive or laughable. I point now to ancient Egypt, the civilization at Amarna, that, the idea of the sun god Ra, solar worship, recognition of the origin of all consciousness, life, and intelligence and sustenance on this planet as being from the sun, not merely as an agrarian society that relies upon the cycles of light in order to grow, wheat or some barley or something like that, but more in a much, much deeper sense of there's a lot of these Egyptian hieroglyphics that show the sun, a ray of sun coming down, and then an ankh. The ankh is going into a person's mouth or into a person's head. It is a symbol for life. Sun gives us life, and all the ancient Egyptian mythology of eventually at the embarkation of death, when you leave your physical body, that you are going to live on the sun bark of Ra, that you are going through the solar portal. All right, I'll talk all about this. Energy that comes from the sun must be interpreted as stellar energy. Wait, let me rewind. All of those beings, these civilizations and cultures, they were deeply connected to the spiritual truth that the ball of light that you see floating in the sky during the day is an intelligent creature, that it is connected to every single being of awareness on earth and anywhere. Looking at the sun as an intelligent creature, and you can have a beautiful rapport, a conversation with the sun on a daily basis. You are a part of the sun. Your consciousness is connected to the sun. Your body is made up of constituent elements that all come from the sun. All of the nourishment that you have ever ingested all comes from the sun. I'm going to repeat, emphasize. All of the nourishment that you have ever ingested comes from the sun. Big. Energy that comes from the sun must be interpreted as stellar energy, stellar from the stars, to feed a full spectrum human. That's what this class is all about. Energy comes up from the material world, so that would be up from the root chakra, from the world of matter, maternal, womb, gestation, the five senses of the physical world that we know of, and I call it sensorium, the world of our five senses, the outer world that we know of. So outer, quote unquote, because it's this world of other people, hard-edged objects, and the things that we feel with our five physical senses, as opposed to, or in contrast with, our inner world of what you see with your inner eye, thoughts, feelings, pure energy. Energy also comes in through the higher realm, higher dimensional, non-earthly place, stellar energies, and that comes in from the violet crown. So I'll go back to this because you can tell I'm starting to get fast. In my presentation here. Energy comes in through, get that annotation thing fast, through the lower level chakras. That means you're coming up from earth. Earth is powerful. Earth is also intelligent. Earth is no, like, disposable thing to throw out the window. It's not only about the sun. So in learning sun gazing, this is also about our connection to earth, just like a battery has an anode and a cathode, positive and a negative, two different aspects of self. We have energy that's coming, spiraling upward from the lower levels and also spiraling downward from the upper levels. We have them both going in both directions at the same time, and that they are complementary and that they each sustain us in their own beautiful and necessary way. Special attention to the center of the energetic anatomy, the intersection between the violet and indigo chakra, that is the inner sun. You can sing that beautiful police song, there has to be an invisible sun that gives its heat to everyone. Oh, where's that? I will just point to it with my cursor right here where I'm placing my cursor, the intersection of violet and indigo chakra, because I was too busy, there we go, too busy singing, and I'm highlighting right here. That is your inner sun. And when you become a breatharian or a person who sustains oneself entirely upon non-physical energies, that area of your anatomy is incredibly important, as is also your tongue, the palate or the roof of your mouth, your nose, the sinuses that come up here, the sense of energy coming in through your eye sockets when you breathe. And also, I'm going to turn kind of to the back here, right back at the base of my skull, where my skull kind of meets my neck, kind of at the base of my hairline. There's like also a little divot there, a very sensitive area at the back of the skull. That is also another aspect of this. So there is like a line that goes through your physical body that includes your forehead here, your nose and everything about your forehead, the back of your neck and the back of your head there, and also the crown. And your crown is right here at the top of where you part your hair in the center, where baby's fontanelle is. That is this energetic intersection. You could also think of it as coming like, if these are your eye lines, the side of your head, like kind of where your sunglasses would perch at the top of your ears, into the deep interior of your head. That is one area of intersection, and then intersecting with the violet chakra that comes in through the top of your head. That is an amazing part of your anatomy. We're focusing on it today. It's not the only amazing part of who you are, but it's essential for sun gazing. It must be understood that when you get to some higher levels of these practices, the sun in the sky is mirrored in perfect symmetry with the sun that is inside of you at the top of your spine. Also, the sun that is inside of you at the top of your spine is energized and filled up or charged up, however you would like to say it, through your communion with the outer sun. It's also unending, like the never-ending breadsticks at Olive Garden. Like, I'm trying to think of something that is endless. It is an endless source of sustenance. So you don't have to be worried about, like, because we're used to this, like, I don't know, like, how many heads of broccoli do I have left in the refrigerator? Do we have enough for dinner? How many whatever pieces of chicken or, you know, French fries do we have? That is not what this is like. It is an unending, unbroken, infinite source of sustenance that is there to sustain us. And it does grow or become revivified. It re-ups as we connect with the sun in the sky, as we connect our inner smaller sun with the sun in the sky. We get energized. This is the whole purpose of sun gazing. And also, please know that the sun is one node on a multi-connected nodal system that is, again, grand scale, all of the stars in the sky. You're charging up on all of the stars in the sky. This is done in love and respect. This is, again, not done like some kind of a thing like, give me more, like I'm an addict, give me the juice. Not like that at all. Although there are some technology using space races who do act in that way, commodifying and objectifying the sun, the stars, and the energy they can get from it, and misappropriating it, kind of peeing and pooping all over it, and utilizing it poorly. Okay. The external star is consciousness. It is awareness. It is a thought being. It is a giant ball of possibilities. So when I draw my time vortex, I say this is a vortex of timelines, possibilities and probabilities. That's the things that can happen and their likelihood, their mathematical likelihood of happening. The sun is a giant ball of possibilities in the sky. It is an alive conscious being. It is a time object. It is a quantum object. Giant ball of possibilities in the sky, time object, quantum object. It is a source of ideas where you can get inspiration and new possibilities from. Do you understand? Like, let's say I've talked a lot about if you have some kind of a crisis going on in your life, like what is going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. You have that moment of like flying rainbow lasagna with the sun. You're able to get a broadcast out like, I'm driving at straight at a brick wall. What's going to happen? Instead of smashing like a bug on the brick wall, you send out this burst to the sun, and the sun is like, oh, I see this possibility of your timeline is going this direction. Time for me to rectify. Send out new timelines, new possibilities, new probabilities to literally reshape time in a new format, in a new direction that allows for the possibility for you not to end up splatted on the highway or running into a brick wall. And these amazing, miraculous redirections of time occur often. They occur quite regularly. Also, let's say in a more mundane sense, not as urgent, like not like hitting at a brick wall, but how about I want to start a new business, or I want to change my life, or I want a new relationship, or I want to live someplace new. All of those ideas come from the sun. All of the ideas for what you can do. I want to build a new type of painting or sculpture, or like I said, any innovation, anything new. All of these ideas come from the sun. It is a thought, broadcasting node, broadcasting outward to us. And we are fatty idea catchers, receptors, like I'm listening, sun. So when you do this sun gazing practice, please know that that is what you are ingesting. You are doing more than just like, getting my chakras energized. You are doing that. You are feeding your light body. Light equals consciousness. Light equals information. Light equals data. You are getting new data downloads into your body, mind, beingness, okay? The way you connect with and ingest those ideas is by cultivating your energetic anatomy and using it to create a connection to the external sun, feeding the internal sun. What are those esoteric practices? So we are also now talking about cultivating your tendril of attention, that it does reach out like a long arm or, a wavery, like whatever, jellyfish tentacle, but that's a rather linear understanding, because when I talk about, if there's anything that comes between you and the true sun, flying rainbow lasagnaing over it, it is really possible. At what I learned over my many years of sun gazing in this world is I can sun gaze with the sun even when it is nighttime in my aspect of the world. So, the sun is going around the other side of the planet, and then it is not in direct line of sight to my eyes. This is called nighttime. This might seem obvious. I'm describing it, like an otherworldly visitor. Yes, sometimes the sun is visible in the sky, it's daytime. Sometimes it's not visible in the sky, it's nighttime. Or what am I supposed to do when I'm hungry at night? And this was, of course, one of the challenges of being a light eater in the antediluvian world known as Atlantis. When we walked on the ground, and I talked about the 3 levels of being and development then, when you were not able to hover and go all around the world, constantly chasing the sun and being connected to the sun here all the time and levitating, when you were connected to the ground, what you would do is be in communion with the sun by an intermediary, something that stores up light like a crystal. So we had all these things that charged up with light during the day, and then we would either sit on top of crystals at night or bathe in crystalline waters. Imagine a tub that is made out of rose quartz, where there is a hollow that contains the most beautiful purified water that is charged with all of this sunlight and that is containing all of that light energy. Because like a plant, how come plants who require a constant influx of light don't die at night? Like theoretically they should die, right? Like what are they doing? I'm skeptical and defensive. How can plants be alive when the sun goes away? Answer is they use starches and sugars to store their energy. Plants have to be incredibly intelligent in their metabolism. What they do with their cash, what they do during the day is they generate lots of energy. They've got their solar collectors out. That's like us sun gazing. They're like, the sun is so good. I'm getting ideas and energy and I'm putting it inside of me, but I'm not just spending everything as soon as I make it. Like, oh, I earned $5, I'll spend $5. I earned $10, I'll spend $10. And what they spend it on is cellulose, which is growth. They have to store some of it up because they know that there's going to be a period of time that could be 6 hours long, 8 hours long, 16 hours long, when there's no light. That's the winter time. And a lot of plants die and go into dormancy in the wintertime because they just can't store up enough energy to stay alive. And also they die because of the coldness and frozenness. But let's say even in your house plants that have to be able to have something to sustain them for the 16 hours of darkness that sometimes happens during the wintertime months if you don't have a grow light for them. So what do? They store it as starches and sugars. They're saying, I'm going to save $5, I'm going to save $10, I'm going to put it in my savings account. And then at night when there's no sun, I'm going to eat that to keep me alive. That is what we had to learn how to do in the antediluvian world when we ate pure light. Put it into some kind of storage facility, put the light, information, inspiration, sustenance into some kind of storage facility that we can then have access to during the time that the sun is not there. And then, of course, like I said, you generate and accrete at a certain point enough light into yourself so that you can levitate, and then you fly around the whole time following the sun. I say chasing the sun, but following the sun and moving in conjunction with the sun so that you have that constant feed. Feed can be, in this sense, data or intelligence. The sun is constantly giving you ideas, energy, and directives. Big directives. It's telling you what to do. The conductor of the cosmic symphony. The sun is the conductor of our symphony of life, known as the solar system. And when you're a good musician, you're in a symphony, you're like, I love to listen to the conductor. The conductor says, tap, tap, tap. Flutes, you rest. Violins, begin. And then says, violins, softer. Timpani, go. Flutes, now. Violins, rest. Trumpets, you're on. And that, when you have a good conductor, that is beautiful as a musician. You're like, I'm primed. I'm ready to go at any minute. Now I'm ready to go. I'm ready to play. Now it's time for me not to play. That can be because you recognize that you're part of this amazing amplified harmonic structure. It's more than just you playing your own stuff. It's you plus all these other things. So now when I talk about the miracle of photosynthesis, I'm a plant's leaf, I'm catching energy, I'm turning it starches and sugars, then I'm going to chew them up, put it in my tummy. Then I have lactobacillus and other plant, other microbes that digest things for me and unlock these miracles are happening. Confluence of timpani, go, piccolos, go, whatever, trombones, go, hit that cello, let's hear it. That is the great conductor. And the sun has so much RAM, random access memory processing power, that it is literally able to conduct for every single human. And there are billions of humans that are here. Just going to talk about one organism called human. You have trillions of bacteria that live in your digestive tract. The sun is literally the conductor conducting all of that. It's divine presence. And this is God in our lives directly. Lactobacillus, go. Metabolize, mitochondria, go. Time for you to metabolize, time for you to do this, time for you to do that. What an amazing amount of coordination it takes and requires to do that, even for one organism. Like just for me, like trillions of microbes that are being organized and conducted just for me to digest my breakfast. And you're all digesting your breakfast. And there's billions of you digesting your breakfast. And my little dog is digesting her breakfast too. And all the birds that are outside and whatever, butterflies are digesting their breakfasts too of nectar or whatever they're drinking through their proboscis. All of these organisms that are being conducted, butterflies drink, lactobacillus go, mitochondria go. What an amazing amount of processing power that takes. Grand scale intelligence, one star magnified exponentially to billions, uncountable numbers of stars, to galaxies, to uncountable numbers of galaxies. Huge processing power is being used in these experiences. What are the esoteric practices that allow us to cultivate our energetic anatomy to be able to sit, to be able to connect effectively with the sun. Now I'm going to demonstrate this for you. Although ironically, I live in sunny California, it's a cloudy day today. And I live at very close to the beach where there's often like the fog and the stuff that comes off of the storms and squalls at the ocean, but I'm gonna do it for you anyway. So I mean, the sun right now is kind of like up in that direction, kind of behind my head. So I will pretend like I'll pretend that I'm looking out this window. All right. First, and let me also change, because the way that I sit is important. So I mean, I'm sitting here. I have like a little stool that I'm sitting on. But I have a recorded video of this that is part of the teachable lessons that's called Sungazing on a Spring Morning, my favorite way to sit. So as you are able, if you are comfortable, to be able to sit, with your legs crossed, either, up like this or, under like a pretzel. The reason why I like that way of sitting is because it literally creates a bowl shape in your lap. And it's a very physical representation of the ingestion of these energies. At a certain point, I feel like I have a big, giant, like a cauldron or a delicious, giant pasta bowl full of the most wonderful, nourishing light. And that's down here. So here's my navel. This is the area below my navel. This is where our physical intestines are. This is also a big energy center of our body, where it's orange red, where we store our light, where we store our joy. It's your hara or ara or dantian. These are earthly teaching systems I'm not that expert or familiar with. Angela, I'm so happy and pleased to see you actually going outside and get a beautiful blue sky. You might have to transmit some solar energy to anybody who's someplace where it's cloudy. Good. Fantastic. So the first thing I do is sit comfortably cross-legged or in a chair, and I do it facing the sun, because I do think of this as being like leaves, like, the way that leaves and sunflowers kind of follow the sun in your garden throughout the day. So beginners, it is just a lot easier if you're actually facing the sun. Let's also talk about the safety of doing this, because the sun is an incredibly potent level of intelligence that if you were on the surface of the sun, you would be incinerated. The sun would be like, here's a lot of data and intelligence. And your body would be like, thanks for all that intelligence. I'm changing state. I'm vaporizing. I'm going directly into plasma. Like, you would not be able to sustain yourself. So don't vaporize yourself by exposing yourself to too much direct sunlight. I do all sorts of things for my physical body. I put on sunblock to protect my face, like not the good kind of sunblock that's not made of chemicals that are harmful or go into your body in a detrimental way. So put on nice, good kind of sunblock. When I'm outside, I almost always wear a hat, and I did that even in upstate New York. And I protect my eyes. So I have contact lenses, and they have like a UV coating, but I do not stare directly at the sun. And this is what I teach. And some spiritual professions do teach, like in Aikido and other things like that, that you stare directly into the sun. I don't do it, and I haven't done it for the 20 years that I've been here, and I do very effective light eating and sun gazing. So what I do is sometimes I squint through my lashes. Sometimes, like I said, I have my hat with the brim that blocks out some of the light, but it might be a loose weave, so some of the light comes through. Sometimes in upstate New York, I would sit under trees. Canopy of trees are a perfect filter, because then you're also getting the wonderful energy from the trees as you're looking at the sun. Inside, and so this is for anyone who lives in a colder climate. Yes, you can sun gaze through the window. Sometimes I would have lace curtains that would kind of block out some of the light, but not all of it. So some kind of lacy curtains, or not fully opaque blackout curtains that block out some of the light. The idea is that what you're really doing is aligning your inner eye. You reach out a tendril of attention, and you also are receptive here in drawing that energy in. That is the main anatomy that we are using, not really the physical eyes. You can also do sun gazing with your eyelids completely closed. I also advocate for doing it early in the day is best, but it depends on your latitude. So right now I live in Southern California. That is actually much closer to the equator than either upstate New York or Northern California. The sunlight up there was not as strong and potent. It had a different declination when it was coming to me. Now the sunlight that comes to me, especially at noon, is very, very, very bright. So yes, the best time for sun gazing is early in the day or late in the day. And I told you where I live is close to the ocean and the horizon. That's a perfect time to sun gaze. If you have an unobstructed view of like the ocean, if you're on the West Coast and the sun is going down, it's an amazing, beautiful, potent time to be able to see it. And what happens is the sun is filtered through many, many layers of atmosphere, and it's kind of coming through these lower, denser levels of atmosphere. It's why it has that reddish, pinkish color, and it is not too strong and not too bright. And those are the best times to do it, because you know why? We're like these little seedlings, these little baby houseplants that, again, if you put us in direct sunlight, if you've ever done that, like you have a philodendron or something like that that's growing inside your house, and then it's a beautiful summer day and I put the houseplant outside and it returns brown and crispy. It's like, I am not made to be outside. Like, this is too much information for me. So we also are the same way. Get it? Celebrate who you are, material beings still gestating in the world of matter, accreting light, becoming faster, getting your energy metabolism to the point of becoming fast enough to be a light being at the speed of light, not the speed of light yet. Celebrate it. Don't go outside and get fried to a crisp or vaporized by being in the presence of the sun too much. And then you also ingest like the right amount. So we'll talk about what that feels like too. So you are aligning with the non-physical energy awareness, even more so than the physical light presence. That's big. I'll emphasize that. You're aligning with the non-physical consciousness waves that are coming to us, the waves of time and possibility and probability, even more than the physical light waves that might look bright or feel warm upon our face. That means that it is still important to do sun gazing on days when it might be a cloudy day. Like I still would do sun gazing today, even if it's cloudy outside of my window, or in the wintertime, or like I said, at night. There have been times when I've been like, wow, like I just really need a solar connection. So what I do is I imagine my attention is doing like a big giant loop where I'm able to fly in rainbow lasagna and touch the sun non-locally. Because again, the sun out there and the sun in here have zero amount of space between you. They're the same sun. So you start to begin to get to that level in your practice. But for when you're first starting out, it really helps, because I told you, I used to feel very dead from November to March when I lived in upstate New York, that I needed a lot more physical light in my body. So it really depends on where you are in your practice. I still need it. And when I visited Oregon for September, October of last year, by the October rains, when they started to come, I was like, sunlight, like, where's my sunlight? You know, the clouds were there all the time. The rain was there all the time. And I was at the window kind of feeling like, sunlight, please, like, come on me. So yeah, so not having enough made my light reserves went down a lot. So the physicality presence matters a lot, but you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, even if the sun isn't out, I can non-locally sun gaze. But today we're focusing on the beginning practice, doing it when the sun is actually there. Align your inner eye with the sun. And what that feels like to me is like first of all, tongue placement really matters. I place my tongue on the roof of my mouth or my palate close to the front of my teeth, but you can experiment with the middle of your palate and even kind of back into your soft palate. These are all like different radio channels. Experiment with what sounds right for you, but the most important part is that you are creating a full circuit. The connection of your tongue to the roof of your mouth creates a full circuit. The energy is coming and going up from your throat chakra, tongue to palate, palate to nose and sinuses, sinuses and nose into third eye, and third eye into crown. So your head and your face and your skull and all of these aspects where your sensory organs here, this is why this is such an important part of your body, your sensory and cognitive organs there are all being engaged, and they all fit together in this perfect calibration that is very important. The next part is practicing inner silence or meditation. I talked about the very aptly named kakapupu that is at the level of the human intellect, the implanted human operating system with verbalization that says blah, 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 blah. And that is just like when you try to get the spoon with the applesauce for babies. The airplane's coming in, but the baby's like, blah, 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 or turn to the side, or turn to this side. Applesauce goes here, and the applesauce goes here, but none of it goes inside. That is what the verbalized mind does, and it is not by accident. That is part of the humans in chicken coops, humans being cultivated for their energy and having it be siphoned off. So how do we keep our energy for us and not have something else siphon off our vital life force energy? learn meditation and mindfulness. Sometimes you can think of this as a pause button, like just press pause on all of the thoughts that are going on in the mind. That really helps. Another good focus is focusing on the feeling of the body. Like if I asked you right now, like feel what it feels like your butt and your pelvis sitting in a chair. Or if you're wearing socks, like feel the elastic on the ankles of your socks, or whatever is something that you can actually like focus on and feel like, oh, like I really am in my body. I really feel that. Things that take you away from the talking mind. Get into a state of inner silence from meditation. That is big, because that's like I'm pretending I'm a baby, like I'm ready. Applesauce goes in here. Like, son, I'm ready. My mind is open to you. Get it? And you cultivate the tone of unconditional love. To love tone. Love tone. We're not focusing on the past or on the future, completely on this moment now. That's really what the love tone is. So it is like a disengagement in your transmission. This is me doing my first gear, second gear, third gear. We're changing our mental transmission and we're going into neutral. Neutral is like this moment now. I'm literally not, I'm anticipatory in terms of my mental state. I'm racing ahead because I think that I'm a responsible person. I'm like laundry lists. I got to do this and I got to do this. And I have this to-do list here and this and call this and this person. When I switch into neutral, I'm like, I am simply here. I feel my feet touching the floor. I feel what it feels like to sit. I feel my spine. I feel my body. I feel my saliva in my mouth. I don't have to attend to my laundry list of duties and responsibilities that I need to be able to earn the magical pieces of paper, to be able to access the pyramids of apples stacked up in the food room of this cultural construct. It is very freeing. Like, think of it like that, like, vacation time, everyone. We're going to take a brief amount of energetic and cognitive vacation, disengage from life responsibilities, not permanently, just for the time of this exercise. It can be 5-minute exercise, 10-minute, 15-minute, doesn't have to be that long. Sometimes I've done sungazing while I'm pulling my carry-on luggage thing through the airport. Like I was, on a journey. I haven't journeyed that much by plane, but I was like getting from one terminal to the next, pulling my, cart. The big giant windows were there and the sun was coming through. And I was like, drink, drink, gulp, drink, drink, gulp, drink, drink, gulp, onto my connecting flight. So it can be fast. That's like when you're eating a bagel on the go, right? Or it can be much more relaxed and have a full meal and have a full banquet. When I open my inner eye, aperture in inner silence, I feel not only energy entering into my third eye, I also feel energy flowing up from the earth, up the base of my spine, the red chakra, which is one of the portals through which energy enters into the physical body. So that's big. When I sit with my legs crossed like a pretzel, then my pelvis, the bottom of my spine, my bottom of my body is often either in a chair or like, it's nice to sit on the ground, as long as the ground isn't wet, dirty, gross, disgusting, full of broken glass or bugs, all right? Which is also part of life. Like put down a little something, because don't worry, the energy you still connect anyway, because what we're really doing is connecting with an esoteric energy field. But I imagine that the base of my spine, my booty is touching all the way to earth, all the way in a tendril to the core of earth, where there's singularity at earth's core. So I'm doing that as my grounding connection, and that is positive. That is uplifting. People are like, grounding. I don't want to stay down on the ground. I want to shoot up like a rocket ship. I want to get untethered from the ground. And I'm trying to say to you that the way to do responsible star travel is to begin with the balance of physical presence, recognition and love of the earth, recognition and love of our mother, matter, material matter gestating us here, in conjunction with the uplifting vibrations that come from the sun, the sky, the stars, the higher dimensional, less dense realm of pure light and pure intelligence. Both things coming in to us, nourishing and sustaining us. That's how you grow strong. Plants that are strong have a deep root system. Have a deep root system, not one little shallow, tiny root. Then you'll fall over, all right? So we cultivate a deep root system. When that energy flows upward. So if I'm sitting in a chair like this, and I'm seated comfortably, a lot of the time I feel energy flowing up from the bottoms of my feet, through my inner knees, through my inner thighs, up my thighs, and into my pelvis, into that kind of like receptive chalice that is in my abdomen. It feels pleasant. It should feel pleasant. These are pleasure centers of our body. This is about filling up your chalice with joy. This is a very joyful activity. Brief mental vacation, releasing your cares and concerns. Some people dwell on the past. So like that thing I did in 3rd grade, let go of it. Go into neutral, release it for 5 minutes. As I release my laundry lists and attentiveness to my responsibilities, flow energy up your legs. This is pleasurable. This is beautiful. Actually, when we walk on the surface of Earth, every single step is supposed to be pleasurable, even orgasmic in our enthusiasm, in our energetic enthusiasm. It also feels like pelvic expansion. So you might feel like you're kind of like a balloon that is a little bit expanding, positive expansion, not like, fattening or something like that, but a positive expansion of the actual skeleton, our actual pelvis, which is shaped kind of like butterfly wings. Imagine your wings kind of like expanding outward, being ready for an embrace. I told you about the tongue is placed on the roof of the mouth, completing the energy circuit. And then the next thing is inhaling. How do you inhale? So if my tongue is on the roof of my mouth, I'm not actually inhaling through my mouth. And of course, I'm narrating to you. You might notice that I do this during class a lot. Sometimes I have to pause. Sometimes I have to drink water. What I'm also really doing is taking a moment to breathe energy through my nose up into my sinuses here, eye sockets here, between my eyes, sinuses up here. And even I feel I'm breathing into the back of my skull. That's how I center this breath. So one good practice for you is, and don't be afraid to make silly faces as you are practicing. Imagine that you are sniffing a rose. Like when you approach a rose, you almost kind of purse your lips and kind of like, tilt your nasal passages up a little bit to be able to make like a very clear line of energy entering into your nose. So that's the exaggerated motion of being at the energy world, like I'm at a florist smelling some beautiful flowers or something like that. But you can also do it in a very subtle way that is not, does not distort your face or look weird, but that's the sensation of what it feels like. So kind of a deep inner breathing. And when I do that, I'm also feeling a lot of engagement at my back of my tongue and soft palate. So if this is my tongue inside of my mouth, here's my teeth over here, here's the roof of my mouth, I feel back of my tongue, where your uvula, the epiglottis is, I feel that really lifting up a lot. I feel a lot of engagement there. And when I begin to actually connect with the sun, as I breathe in, I'm drawing energy in through my attention attenuous tendril. So I'm, of course, breathing in air, atmosphere through my nose, and with my non-physical energy anatomy, I'm drawing in gently that light of intelligence, possibilities, and probabilities. And as it comes inside of me, I feel it kind of coming into the top palate of my mouth, and maybe even coming down the back of my throat. And at times it has been a substantive light. At times it has really had the texture of like some kind of, I talk about coconut pudding, like some kind of, whatever you guys like to eat or drink, but it's like thicker than water, but not solid, not like, an avocado or something like that, but something that has that kind of like pudding-like consistency. And I think about coconut just like as some very sweet, nourishing, and then sometimes I actually do swallow it down. So that's the basic of how like babies, look, I'm teaching you how to eat. The applesauce comes into your mouth, and then you're gonna have to somehow swallow that down. Like we are babies, get it? Babies, light babies. Be a baby. Be a baby with me. I'm a baby too. And we drink it in from the sun that is our beautiful parent. So as I, sometimes I have my eyes closed or maybe squinting, so don't be afraid to make funny faces. Breathe in Draw that energy in, feel it coming into your throat, and then swallow it and bring it down. So we're doing two things at once. One is, I'll tilt my camera so you can see more, energy coming up the legs, energy coming up into here from earth, right? And then at the same time, energy coming in through this aperture here, in through the front of your head and face, and then coming down into here. And all of it residing, coming into the big, receptive, beautiful, positive cauldron or chalice of your being. And you take a couple of good spoonfuls to do this. So you don't rush, you allow it to flow. Like, you know, like if you're a little baby, you don't have to be like chomp, chomp, chomp. You can be like a little bit at a time. Allow these energies to come in. And if I show you on my picture here, what you're doing is basically filling up your cup from the bottom upwards. So at first, wait, get the pencil. At first, you're filling up over here, then take another breath, you're filling up over here, like a glass of water, you're filling up to your heart. And then once you get to that level of the heart, remember that is the plateau upon which all of these higher faculties rest. So that's why I encourage you to go in this order, first of creating the stable foundation of red, orange, and yellow up to green, the love tone, and then you begin filling up this upper area of your body too, okay? And so this takes several breaths. Don't have to rush, but you can eat your bagel on the run if you need to. Breathing in, we can all do it together. I don't know, well, some people are right in front of their window where they can do it. Some people are in Europe where it's nighttime. Breathing in. Breathing in, feeling it coming up. Now, when I start to get to this high heart feeling, I feel like, okay, like I'm breathing in some tension in the back of my head and neck and spine. And my head naturally starts to tilt up like a flower beginning to tilt up to the sun in the morning light. And what happens is my third eye begins to tilt upward. Do this only if it is comfortable as you are able with your neck. Forehead begins to tilt upward and look at the ceiling. That is big. I look up at the ceiling, tongue is still placed on the roof of my mouth, and then essentially I have my energy come out through the front of my forehead, circle around back into the back of my head, and then either come out through the top of my head or come out through my forehead again. Let me draw it for you, then I will demonstrate for you again. Wait, I just pressed a button and now I don't see you. Okay. That's scared. You're okay, guys. I'm going to share screen again. So what I do is, here's this lens that is in front of my face. And at first it's, you know, kind of pointing outward in this direction. As I feel that tension coming up the back of my spine, my lens tilts upward in this direction until it is facing the ceiling. Only do what is comfortable with your back, neck, and spine. But at a certain point, it's up here. My third eye and my violet chakra begin to overlap because you already have that violet presence that is right there. The two of them interconnect together. So it feels like, and also, oh, I'm talking in broken English here. Here is my crystalline structure that resembles the third eye. So I imagine that this is like, you know, where you can see it, eyeball. This is an actual crystalline eyeball. My pineal gland is deep in the interior of my mind. I'm using this to draw energy in. And then as I feel that energy kind of like rising up, my head naturally tilts up. And I tilt up so that this is kind of pointed upward. And that I am connecting this to this in that overlapping area. And that I'm focusing all of that on the sun. You first receive from the sun, fill yourself up, then you broadcast back to the sun. That's big. So that's the only thing that's different between the baby and the applesauce. Babies and applesauce, like you don't want them to like throw up their applesauce on you. I'm sorry, I'm being very silly. But what we want to do is create an unbroken circuit. And that's what we're doing. The energy comes into us from the bottom up, and then we also send that energy back to the sun. several different techniques that you can use. Do what feels right to you. One of which is out through your forehead as you tilt your head up to the ceiling. And then, so that's like just directly straight up, fine. One of which is a little fancier, up and around in a loop, then back out the front, or it can be in a loop into my heart, back here, and then out through my chest. And it can also be directly up, that you can sometimes feel a sense of the light coming out through here and then going directly up. Sometimes I feel it, I will tell you, without even tilting my head, coming in kind of a crown spiral out through the top of my head. These are all things that I have felt like over my long 20 years, that it's really different every time. It's just like when you're doing push-ups or whatever, like sometimes you might have your hands placed like this or your hands placed like this. It's different. Do what your body wants. And I have developed in different ways, but most of the time, what I'm trying to say is your body has, your light body has its own innate wisdom, and you're connecting and communicating with the sun, and the sun will tell you. So these are all feelings that happen. Like I'm breathing in, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing in. I start to feel like a tightness back here. They're like, oh, my head wants to tilt up. And my eyes, sometimes I keep my eyes closed. Sometimes I kind of roll them back into my own mind, so that I'm looking at my own mind, or looking at my own third eye. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to send that out. But oh, it wants to come. Sometimes I want to just send it out. Sometimes I want to send it out, but I feel like, oh, it's looping back around, coming back in through the back, and then going out again. All of these things are righteous. All of these things are correct. Experiment with what feels right to you. The thing that I have for you in terms of guidance is the understanding that what you're thinking at that moment matters. So that's why I say go into neutral. In these energetic processes of receiving this energy, receiving it from the sun and the earth, and then sending it back to the sun, you're broadcasting. You're sending out seeds that are thought seeds. So I just wrote, please note this is not the only valid Sungazing practice. It is one of many ways of connecting with and ingesting the sun. Mental clarity is essential during this process. Only think about what you wish to be manifesting. This is an exercise in divine co-creation. So I talked about energy coming up your legs from the earth, stimulating the pleasure centers in the pelvis, very appropriate to the sense of, sex is a creative activity, sexual activity is a creative activity. Sun gazing is a divine co-creative activity where your partner is both the sun and the earth, or instead of earth, you can think material world. A co-creative, divine lovemaking process between the sun and matter. And in that sense, like these things are sacred, and the word sacred comes from sacral. Your sacral chakra is the one that is directly above your root chakra. Orange, sacred, sacral, sacred, sacral energy. All of this is done out of love and devotion, not objectification or exploitation. It is meant to be something that you do when you feel like you want to do it, not like as a commodity. Because of course, if someone tells you like to do something sexual as a commodity, then it begins to become tainted with that sense of inappropriateness. It should be done out of love, out of the natural desires that you have to connect with the sun and the stars as your consciousness partners. Got it? Lovemaking, and this is also, the sun is Christ. The sun, the idea that human religions call him the Son of God, and that the light is also the light, and that the literal sun in the sky is the light and of God. That there are many plays on words, but it is very literal, that we have a sun inside of us, that is the master teacher and the energy presence inside of us, that is the nourisher, that is the guide, that we also do a communion with the sun that is external. And you can still do this communion even if it's cloudy, even if there's a sun simulator, even if there's a Fresnel lens, even if there are chemtrails, even if there are nasty nanobots in your optic nerve, any of these things, I exemplify this, we do it anyway. And what you're doing is planting seeds in the receptive force field that is known as consciousness. Like a big, giant, beautiful garden where there's just nothing but receptive soil. And out of your mind, you are sending off these seeds. And you want to think about the things that you want to be manifesting and generating and experiencing. So in conceiving a child consciously, when like a human male and female are creating life in lovemaking, what they're thinking about in that moment of conception is part of the generative process of creating a new life. And when they do it consciously, it's so powerful. The being, the soul that is invited in, and the personality characteristics that are generated in that moment, it becomes this wonderful, like I've talked about, geometric expansion in the physical cellular world, and also waveforms. You are doing this with reality. You are giving birth to a new reality. I'll read this for you. All of the thoughts and feelings and belief structures present as you are filling up your energy centers are about to be broadcast to the cosmos. Go into neutral. Don't think about your laundry list of things you have to do or the things that happened to you in third grade. Be in the now and be conscious in your lovemaking. Be present with your partner. And you can consciously say or think about things that you wish to experience. Like, I'm very big on freedom. That I'm like, if you give me one wish, like, Aurora, magic wand, you're under pressure, you have one wish. I'd be like, I wish for freedom. Freedom, like, that's it, freedom. So if you ever need to just have, like, what's the crib notes? What's the right answer? Freedom. But you can also take your time. This is not about life under pressure, which is another beautiful song I can break into right now. It is about the allowing state, natural genesis and unfolding. And if you really are in your lovemaking state, you're like, what are the things that I prioritize? What are the values that really matter to me? What really matters to me in my life? What really matters to me for everyone? Because when I talk about freedom, I wish to be free. I also wish for all consciousness that is here to be free. And that does not mean free to be an axe murderer. I'm very clear on all of this. You can refer to my various asterisks, and postscripts on exactly what freedom means. But you can also think about more direct things. If you're like, okay, like whatever, if you're going to build a new house, you're like, okay, I want it to be shaped like a dome. I want to build a dome. I want it to be made out of bioceramics. I want it to be able to be, whatever, colored red or colored a particular color. You can think those things as you're doing this, because guess what? Your thoughts and your consciousness and your ideas and your energy all come from the sun. All of your thoughts and your being and your body come from the sun, and everything that you want and you desire comes from the sun and from divinity. And then you're broadcasting them back. The great conductor is telling you, do this, think this, feel this. And you're like, I want to do this. And I want to think this. And I want to feel this. Get it? You are in divine co-creative partnership. You are a reflector. You are a photon feeler sending back that idea and energy that the great broadcaster has sent back to you. When you do this, the experience is one of amplification waves, waves that overlap and create harmonic exacerbations where they get louder and greater and bigger and more powerful and actually do come true. When you shoot out energy from your head to the sun, you are broadcasting to the sun aspects of your own consciousness. You are creating your reality, and the sun listens to you. This all really, really matters because now you understand why there would be inhibitors. Like, those juicy humans are sending out all these thought forms to the sun. They're having planetary ascension. They're imagining all these amazing things for themselves and for their bodies and for the planet and for their reality structure and for the fabric of time and space. I don't like that. I'm paraphrasing for these evil ones. They're like, let's co-opt their ascension. Let's find some way to block off their connection to the sun or steal their thought forms or hijack their thoughts. Be like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm maintaining my true divine connection. I'm maintaining my true imagination. I'm maintaining my true ability to visualize. This is this moment in our lives right now. Please continue to envision and imagine the highest realities that you possibly can. Like when we envision the capacity to be able to eat purely from the light of the inner sun. Of course, your grocery bills would evaporate. That's not all. Like we have a lot of different aspects of materialism and commodification that would also similarly evaporate. Like our lives in the antediluvian world where we bathed in crystalline waters were very different in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment motivations in what we call property or private property, how we organized our societies and how we went places and shared energy. We will do all of that again. That is what really happens, but you don't have to rush. But please know that like when you're a breatharian, like you're not going to be paying your Geico bills. That you have a different level of experience when you get to that level. And you also might not buy a shirt at the boutique. You might not, have commodities that you do with that. So our entire world is shifting, and sun gazing is part of that shifting. And as I said, like, I've been here for 20 years. I am in acceptance of however long it takes. It is an inevitability. Please know that it is baked in. It is baked into the program of who you are, loosely put program. It is baked into the essence of who you are. You are an inevitability particle. You will make it there. You already have made it there in a quantum sense. And now you are just experiencing the tumbling causality factors that actually bring you there. You are the sun, and you are communing and communicating with yourself. You are already there. Time is already looping back to this moment now. And this rapport that you are establishing in doing a sun gazing practice is about paving the world in front of you, one footstep at a time. These are the events that bring me back home, and these are the events that bring me to be a light being, and these are the events that bring me back into conscious alignment with the sun and all light everywhere, and the greater broadcast of the symphony of life. The coconut pudding, this is light coming through the filter of the anthropomorphic body. So right now I'm wearing an anthropomorphic body. And to me, coconut pudding is like, yum. But if you were a dog, like, where's my dog? You might be like, fermented gopher. That tastes so good. One time she ate fermented gopher. I think it was the most amazing thing in her life. Or whatever, if you're a flatworm, or if you're like, whatever you like to eat, that is unique to you as an organism. Here is the sun, which is Christ consciousness, emanating ideas into my inner sun at the top of my spine, which are then informing my experience of raising this energy, planting these thought seeds, and broadcasting them out into reality to be experiences. The loving co-creative partnership that each one of us is trying to cultivate. This is making love to the cosmos in partnership with my divine counterpart, with one's divine counterpart. Each one of us has a divine counterpart. That's big, because I think that there's some exclusivity in some of the teachings of the earthly Christian or Catholic Church. The bride of Christ being like, there's one person, one special person, and everyone else, you're all chopped liver, throw you out the window. No, you're all special. And people hate to hear that, like, you're special snowflakes, blah, 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 all these cultural constructs. I can't even break through them. I just sometimes can't even talk. You all have a divine counterpart. You all are photons. You all are part of the larger Christ network structure. You all are part of light and light beings. You all have this beautiful love-making partner, and it is not exclusive to one. So it is not just for one special person or one special group of people. It is literally for all beings, for me and for my dog and for plants and for lactobacillus. Connecting, so what you think and what you want to happen begins to happen as you use your co-creative capacity in alignment with this external divine source that then creates reality around you. So lactobacillus is like, I sure hope somebody drinks some milk and sends it down here into the tummy where I live, because I break down milk and that's where I get my food resources from. You get it? Like, you go to the grocery store with your magical pieces of paper, you get something and put it in your tummy, and lactobacillus is like, hooray, hooray, cheers. My ship came in, the important stuff is coming down the throat. All of these lives that are connected. That's just a silly, lighthearted example. Please go deeper. You know, I get very, very, very lighthearted for a reason, but please go deeper. Now I want to just do, I know we're almost at the end of this recording, but the interaction between the sun's magnetic field, which is known as the heliosphere, and Earth's magnetic field. And I'll grab my sculpture, because these are both toruses, or toroidal energy fields. So the sun has a heliosphere that is an electromagnetic envelope that is shaped like this, that is so big it goes all the way out past Pluto and the exoplanets. Earth has a magnetosphere that is shaped like this, and it goes, not as far as Mars, but pretty far, all right? And there is such a thing as something called the solar wind, that is a forceful emanation that comes off of the surface of the sun of high energy particles, radiation, and literally vectors of energy, vector being a direction. So energy that comes off of the sun, it's not just like humbity bumbity bump, like I'm just like kind of like trickling away. It's actually like, whoosh, whoosh, like you can see my teeth, I'm like kind of like trying to blow. It is literally blowing. It has a blowing force field that is constantly blowing away from us. This is why comets have the central core of who they are and what looks like a long tail behind them. And the long tail is always going away from them, away from the sun and the solar wind. That force of the solar wind radiating outward, it's consciousness, it's reality creation, it's timelines. I'm whooshing timelines away from me. I'm whooshing timelines away from me. I know I'm making silly faces as I do this. What is the purpose of this? The purpose is that the sun is a parent that is literally protecting us in the inner solar system so that life may develop. The force field that is created by this solar wind emanating outward prevents rocks, debris, comets, meteors, space crapola from coming into the interior of our world and smashing into the Christ of our planet, creating extinction events and other things like that. If you look at the moon, the one part of the moon, Earth's moon, is very pockmarked with craters because much space debris has hit into it. It doesn't have an atmosphere. So it's constantly getting bombarded. It's getting beamed all the time in order for our planet not to get beamed all the time, so that we actually have time for the delicate tendrils of life to arise here and to be able to grow plants and root systems and ecosystems and hummingbirds and butterflies. We need to not have giant comets smash into us on a regular basis. Whoosh. This is what the solar wind does. Whoosh. It blows all of that stuff away. So the emanations off of the sun, the solar wind, has a force. It is a wind of particles constantly blowing away from the sun. It creates the shape of the heliosphere. It is analogous to the flow of energy around the time vortex. It's a physical representation. The heliosphere is represented in physical reality. It is analogous to this pure time construct that has energy that flows like this, energy that flows in figure eights like this, energy that tumbles end over end, energy that spirals. It is the activity of consciousness circulating within consciousness's self. You live within the thought system of a very great being that is called the sun. The sun's heliosphere is its dream. It is its construct. It is the sun's thought system. You and your life, you're like one life, one neural impulse within a much larger thought system known as the sun. The solar wind and solar emanations literally help to protect the planet so that life and consciousness can be nurtured and grown. The sun is our parent. The crossing place where the lines of magnetism that come from the sun and Earth's magnetosphere come together are fascinating and interesting portals. So there are microcosms, like fractal microcosms, big giant torus, little Earth torus inside of the large. That's what fractal means, a tiny self-similar or shaped the same way energy field. Giant heliosphere also contains like Jupiter's magnetosphere, Earth's magnetosphere, any of our planets. They all reside within the dream, the thought structure of the sun. There are places where the electromagnetic field lines of the sun and the Earth touch. They come together. They are magical portals, and some of them are very close to Earth's crust. They might only be a couple of miles off of the surface of Earth's crust. So let's say that might be here. Some of them exist in the space between Earth and the sun, 93 million miles of linear space. Some of them exist so close to the sun that they are almost touching the surface of the sun. Each one of these is a portal or a doorway directly into the sun, which is a doorway directly to infinity. The sun is that, which is a doorway to infinity, the singularity. So each one of these portals is like a doorway to the singularity, a doorway to infinity. So you have singularity inside of you. You have a sun inside of your own mind and in your spine. You have the planetary structure that has singularity inside of it. You have the solar body that has singularity inside of it. And then you have these crossings of magnetic field lines where also that's like shortcut to singularity. You enter in here and you end up in singularity in the sun. The sun is like a crucible from which are created all of the atomic elements that make up the physical body. Crucible, lots of heat, lots of pressure, intensity, making physical elements, making literally atomic structures. You are on a journey of consciousness, and the sun is like a giant witness, a giant eye in the sky. There is a song that I'm going to break into now. It's an old 70s song. I am the eye in the sky, looking at you. You can feel my light, or I can read your mind. It is a giant eye in the sky. And as you telepathically broadcast back your experience of borrowing these atomic heavy elements, like the calcium in my bones, the hydrogen in my H2O, the waters of my body, um, you are living on a planet in order to have the experience of being conscious. So you are telepathically broadcasting back what it's like to borrow this stuff. Like, hey man, can I borrow $5 of incredibly priceless atomic elements? I'm going to use it to make my body, and then I'm going to send you back the experience of having a body. And the sun is like, okay, cool, I'll loan you $5. Send it back when you get it. And then you send back in this process of sun gazing. It is very, very deep. The mental comprehension that you need in order to go through these consciousness portals is the type of travel that does not require a clank metal spaceship. So as I have spoken in the negative contrast of like, that is not how experts do star travel. You don't be like, hi, I'm here in my clank metal spaceship. I'm here to gas up at your sun. I'm just going to siphon off a bunch of photons, put them into my dilithium crystals or my tachyon drive, and swoop on out. That is not what we do. What we are coherent light beings who travel on wings of pure love, love as the generative tone of equality. I give to you, you give to me. We go through consciousness portals. Consciousness journeying happens when magnetic field lines cross and consciousness portals open up so that you can travel to the source of this consciousness broadcast. What does it feel like when you travel to the sun? All of the energy coming off of the sun is or are in perfect alignment with my chakras. Dun, dun, dun. Vocal toning, dun, dun, dun. Self-cultivation practices, dun, dun, dun. Ascension timeline. What is personal? A huge flame going on overhead. Hold on. Personal and planetary ascension, looking at you. Personal and planetary ascension means that we are aligning with that central core timeline. You're on target. I did not mention to you that when you do your sun gazing practice and you're looking at the sun, sometimes the physical ball of possibilities in the sky to me ends up having a ring of violet, blue, green, all the way out to red at the edges. It has it looks like a tunnel, a rainbow tunnel around it. That's how I know I'm on target. All of this is about cultivating and lining up your chakras so that you look at the sun completely in alignment, in you are on target. And then when the energy of the solar wind whoosh, whoosh, whoosh comes off of the sun, you actually are not incinerated, you are elevated. It is a sun bath. All of the energy comes off of the sun and you're in perfect alignment with your chakras. You're a fractal, self-similar being. So giant heliosphere has Earth's smaller fractal magnetosphere. And upon Earth, or in conjunction with Earth, is your little tiny personal chakra system that is the same shape. It is fractal, self-similar, scaled proportionally, and has not lost any of its profound information or detail in the distillation to your size, or even down to the size of a molecule or an atom, and then into its expansion. So in the experiences that I have had in terms of going through a solar portal, all that is the true me comes with me. All that is not the true me, that is not in alignment with me, is vaporized and goes off to the edge. This is big. It is bathing. This is not the same as sunbathing, where you put on your bikini and you're laying out in the sun and getting a tan, which is also very nice and relaxing. But this is a sun bath in the sense of being completely submerged within the larger conscious awareness. And my individuated self was in a much larger ball of perfect awareness that I meshed with perfectly. The timelines, possibilities, and probabilities of my individuated structure meshed perfectly with the larger structure of consciousness, timelines, possibilities, and probabilities. That is the sun. Bathing, like being immersed within, but also in the sense that anything that was not in perfect alignment was washed away or purged. This is how experts do star travel. You also are not afraid of losing your temporal ego. So the stuff that gets washed away, these are identities, thoughts, emotion, and ego, things that are not permanent but are temporal. Temporal means arising from the phenomenon of being submerged in time. They are not eternal. They are based only in the experience of being immersed in time. So when you do this, this is like how to do a conscious death, as teachers like Dan Winter would talk about, or what I talk about and what we're experiencing now, personal and planetary ascension, that you do not have to have a break in continuity of consciousness. You remember exactly whom you are, everything that you've done up to this moment. You remember the transformative moment. You remember the sense of like, oh yeah, look at something, this shirt, it's not who I really am. You know, something, pardon me, I'm going to really demonstrate this. Yeah, that shirt's not who I really was. I took it off. I was just wearing it for a little while. This is actually my real body. This is actually who I really am. Your eternal, essential core values, personality characteristics, the definition of self beyond being in a physical body. So if I say to everyone, I'm defined by my love of avocados, I eat them every day while I'm here in the human body, but I don't eat avocados when I am my pure light being. That is an identity that came just from this time place. If I lived somewhere else, I would eat other things. So I am creative. That is part of my core basic values. If I'm here, I'm painting paintings in the human visible light spectrum, or playing on the piano in an auditory range that we can hear. If I was incarnated as a rock shrimps do this amazing things where they have these kind of pincers, and underneath the water, they make these bubbles that then collapse. They're hypersonic in their collapsing form, and they emit kind of like a very loud sound. That they're doing this as self-expression. It is not mere survival. And not chambered nautilus shaped like sacred geometry inside, because as it's going up and down, it uses these chambers to fill or unfill with water as flotation devices, to like a submarine to submerge or to go upward. They emit tones. I'm going down. I'm going up. I'm going down. Or a jellyfish. If I were a jellyfish, I'd be like, ooh, I'm doing my jellyfish dance. I'm doing my jellyfish dance. You know, creativity coming through whatever is the biological construct or non-biological construct that I'm inhabiting at any time. Because let's say I'm pure abstraction. Because a lot of the time I'm pure abstraction. I'm creative as a pure abstraction and spontaneous. And also my values are based in freedom and cosmic law, and in the recognition of the sanctity of life, the sacredness of life. Life is not an inconvenience or a mere phenomenon. Like there's all this crazy life that just happened to happen. No, life is a direct result of the amazing capacity of the great conductor. Flutes play, timpani, not so loud, violins, go, it's your time now. Lactobacillus, eat. That's the non-coincidental, very profound aspect or nature of life, that it is definitely intentional. It is not merely by accident or by coincidence. It is very, very intentional, and its cultivation and sustenance is intentional. And a part of my self-definition and value system and identity beyond incarnation in this time place is the protective nature of that life and of light and of consciousness and of the organizational principle and of cosmic law. That is who I am. And each one of you are on a journey of refinement, refining your chakras, going from being tilted over to the side. These are my fake timelines. That's not who and what I really am. Those timelines lead me into dead ends or math problems that do not have the end result solution of infinity. You are calculating for infinity, who you are as an infinite being. Oop, no, that was me as a mortal. That's not who I really am. That's not who I really am. Let's do the wrong notes. Wrong note, wrong note, wrong note, wrong note, wrong note. That's who I really am. And this process of refinement is all about learning or determining or refining out who you really are through your life experiences, a la the movie Groundhog's Day, where the Bill Murray protagonist, who was not a very nice person, went through a refinement process and learned to be more compassionate, more community oriented, you know, a better person, more caring, more loving. Like that's the truth of who you really are. You really are love. You really are God, and God is love. And this experience of exploring the wrong notes in the periphery, like that is not who I really am. That is not who I really am. That does not lead to and add up to infinity. But you know what adds up to infinity? Doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. And so that's on the anthropomorphic level. What you're doing is figuring out behaviorally who you are as a person. But you know, your hair, your shirt, your necklace, your thing that your favorite pair of shoes, those things do not come with you. They do not define exactly who you are. Those are outfits that you wear for this time and place because they are appropriate. You have to have an ego. Your ego is your definition of self. You say, I am named this person. I live at this street address. Here is my job or my social self-description. I am this person's family member, or I am this person's employee, or I do this or this or this. Those are all valid self-descriptors in this time place, but that's not the definition of who you are as an eternal being. Got it? So when you meet someone in eternity, you have to calibrate to who they are as an eternal being. You guys will meet me in eternity, and you will feel and remember who I am. I might not have a face that looks like this, but you will feel my energy, and you'll be like, I feel you. You feel exactly like the person that you felt like in Earth, or, you know, I didn't even know how to say it. Like if you imagine that you had never seen me, you'd only ever heard my voice on the phone, but you can get a feeling. So when I have friends who have passed on and I'm trying to tune into them to feel what they feel like or where they've been or whatever, I'm tuning into their energy signature, not necessarily their face or their name. You tune into someone's energy signature, which is also analogous to loosely your soul, the definition of you, the flavor of you. Oh, turn it up. That's what I sound like. That's what I feel like. That's the music of Aurora. That's the music of Aurora. And that's what you're tuning in for. That's what you're looking for. And you also, sorry, my dog is barking. You don't have to be afraid of loss. I know that so much of our lives, just cool it. So much of our lives as mortals is to live in fear of loss. I'm afraid of someone dying. I'm afraid of dying myself. I'm afraid of things going away. I'm afraid of impermanence. The things that are impermanent are not eternal. You don't bring them with you in a suitcase when you fly through the sun. You're like, I release those attachments. They do not come with me. But what does come with you is the love, the greatness, the real love connection. Like, I really love my dog. That love is eternal. It is indelible. That travels with me. The dog food, we don't pack up the dog food and bring it with us, or the dog bed, or not even her favorite toy that we travel everywhere with. You get it? So like, I'm attached to my paintings, but that is not something that I carry with me through the sun. But you know what I carry with me? My love of creating those paintings, or my love of artistry, or my love of playing and performing music. So the neurological experience of having done those things, of being immersed in music, projects that you love and care about, growing a garden. This is why I'm so big on people really making values-based life choices about what you spend your time and energy doing, because your life is about much more than just commodification of your time, which is where you say, I pay, hey kid, I'm chomping a cigar, I pay you $10 to dig a dish for me. Be like, yeah, man, I need $10 because I need food that they keep locked up in that food room. But your life is about so much more than the commodification of your time. Your life is about the immersive experience of basically love between yourself and the emanator of consciousness, between yourself and the sun and stars, and everything that is truly important in its values. That's what comes with you when you travel through a portal that is known as the star. So this is not the only experience to be had in connecting to the sun and going through a portal. It is my reportage of my personal experience. Just like this is how I do sungazing, and I do these loops, but I don't always do these loops. And the Ankh is an allusion. It alludes to these time loops going to the sun. But then recently I've kind of thought, from what I've learned about ancient Egypt, I wonder if someone's putting the whammy on you. Like, I wonder if it's just better to spiral up right out through the top and just not do any of these loopings, if those are diminishments or limitations. And then I think, well, maybe it's appropriate for certain levels of development, but then you move past them. I think about all these things, like, you know, training wheels into riding without the need for training wheels, or, you know, whatever flotation devices, and then you don't need your water wings to be able to swim. I don't have an answer for that yet. So my real answer in practice is simply to do what feels right for you. All these things exist as different ways of doing things. And this is how I flew through the sun. And I don't just fly through the sun on my own. I fly with a collective, like a murmuration of starlings, you know, a big giant flock of birds, my collective, coherent light body. I'm a coherent light body, and I'm with all these other coherent light bodies, and we're stuck together like Good waffles stick together. We're stuck together and we're flying through time. And we are also in rapport, sending and receiving. And we go in through the sun or a solar portal and come out through another solar portal. And we come out purified in our truest nature, in our truest essential nature, with continuity of consciousness, remembering everything that we've done. You remember, that's it. It's not like getting a mind wipe, because you guys are used to being born and being like, whoop, I don't remember anything. Hi, like I'm a baby. I don't remember anything. I have to learn everything. Or like when you wake up from sleeping at night, most people don't have continuity of consciousness. They're like, I wake up and like, I don't remember what I was just dreaming or where I just was or what my mind was just doing. I got to go make some coffee and get ready for work. Like partitioned consciousness, partitioned lives, partitioned diurnal consciousnesses. And then when you die, moving onward with the partition. Again, that can be helpful if you had a severely traumatic life. If you're like, something, we're going to put an amnesiac partition there so that I don't have to think about all the horrible things of like being whatever, burned as a witch or beheaded or having your entrails strewn out in some kind of horrific thing. You don't have to think about that. Just create a new chapter. And now you're here thinking this. You can see that there can be a value to that. However, in our experience right now, we are in this generation that is ascending. We have been through all of these many multiple existences. When you start to gain your continuity of consciousness, you will look and remember back down the time tunnel. And be like, oh, that's that time that I was beheaded. But I'm past it now. But I remember when I was burned at the stake, that was also not fun. I remember the entrails, not fun. But that you don't have to experience that again. So that's also part of it, being like, did it, got the t-shirt, done, don't have to do it again. And in this generation, you're absolutely becoming so aligned. Like, so alignment is not just one of these new age words like quantum. Alignment really means that you're like, a garden hose or some kind of a tube that when energy is flowing through it like this, you're in alignment, flows through perfect frictionless portal. But when you're to the side, like the chakras are to the side, not in alignment, then like the water is flying everywhere, it's going all over because it is not truly in alignment. So when you're in alignment with your timelines, the energy is flowing to the chakras of your body, you're dancing in conjunction with those timelines. This is what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is all about. And you're able to go through these solar stellar portals as experts do star travel, and you get to practice. So don't worry, it's not like, like play a symphony now. It's like you get to practice. And that's also what taking my class is all about. You're in alignment with this perfect frictionless version of self. And you're also in continuity of consciousness where you're like, yep, I remember I was Aurora. I was wearing that shirt. And then I took off that shirt. And now I remember that I'm not wearing that shirt anymore. And now I'm diving through this time portal. And then I come out the other side and I still remember everything that happened. And I'm like, yep, I'm an ice cube in a giant sea of consciousness. I'm a giant sea of water. I'm an individuated consciousness structure in a giant consciousness ocean. And I just dived through a consciousness portal. And that's also a lot of what my Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance is about. That as I'm doing my dance, a lot of the time I might be on the ground. I might roll around like, woohoo, like I'm diving through a portal. And then I close up tight. And then I come out the other side and I expand big. And I'm like, woohoo, I just came through a portal. And then after you come through a portal, you kind of clear your perturbations, smooth everything down, like, ooh, like smoothing down my hairstyle. Just came through a portal, just gonna smooth myself on down, and then I'm ready to keep going. That is how experts do star travel. That is, cheeky, but my Ian okay. That is how experts do star travel. So I'm going to wrap it up soon. Once we start to activate these energies and create reality directly, we need to take personal responsibility for our contributions to creation. So our self-cultivation in becoming sun eaters, sun gazers is part of our journey. Here, I'll lift you up. Come here, baby. Come on. Oh, look at this, guys. We have a visitor. She doesn't always do this, but we used to do this all the time. I'm doing the sitting on the lap while I do my class. Personal responsibility. That's another hallmark of who I am as a person, and who it's a characteristic that is part of my collective of many multiple individual coherent light being bodies, and of the stars themselves. The stars are giant thinkers and creators, and they take responsibility. We take responsibility for what we think and emanate and broadcast and create. Like, I'm thinking this thought, I'm literally making a planet. I'm making organisms on that planet with my thought. I'm making stuff happen with those organisms and with their lives. I can't be like, oops, not my fault, not my job, sorry. You have to be like, oh, I thought that and that happened. Oh, I thought that and that happened. And then I thought that and that happened. Just part of my self-responsibility in coming here through the Flying Rainbow Lasagna portal to be a rectification event or a quantum object to set right things in the time field that have been extremely out of balance and to safeguard or ensure that the inevitability particles all reach where they are inevitably supposed to go, because I take responsibility for what I do. So there's not a way to be like, hi, I'm a giant co-creator, I'm a big giant ball of light, an enormous amount of processing power in the sky. I'm just floating here doing the backstroke. It's not my fault. Like, sorry, you guys are having trouble and suffering down there. Not like that at all. And I emphasize this over and over. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. And even as the sun might be diminished by chemtrails or, a lens or some weird thing that they're trying to do to block it out or diminish it in some way, the sun is still like, yo, hi, I'm right here. I'm still responsible for you, and I'm still connected to you, and I'm quantumly entangled with you, and I know everything that's happening within your photonic body and everything that's happening in your consciousness, and I'm never going to give up on you, and I'm never going to let you languish in some forgotten heck hole, stuck in the doldrums and that you can't get out of. Never going to let you be stuck in the consciousness roach motel. I'm going to make sure that there's a pathway to be able for you to go and flow as inevitability particles where you need to flow to. We're just having a beautiful hug here. It doesn't always happen, so we're just going to do this. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. So that's actually the end of what I wanted to present for today. If anybody has anything to share or would like some clarification, I'm totally open to that. Angela says, my houseplants are a source of light for me. I love to hear that. I feel like houseplants are very reciprocal. We have them in our energy field inside of our homes. I send out energy to my plants. I take care of them with water. They can't just, send out their root system to what they need. They're reliant upon us. But then I also feel so much love and care from them. Like they witness us in our lives. They witness what we're doing and what we're going through. I had a friend recently tell me that he was in like a bad roommate situation, and all of his house plants were depressed. The house plants were like, just let us die. He was like, no, we're trying to get out of here. We're trying to move. They've absorbed very much our emotional tone or the truthfulness of what's going on in our lives. And I think that they want us to be happy. So I have my house plant back there, and I just moved here a couple of months ago. But every time that I'm like, if I have a little bit of extra money, then I'm like, I'm going to buy a house plant. Like, you want to have lots of greenery in your house. You have a little garden outside. You want to have lots of, basically, they're living creatures that, Chiki is such a beautiful reflector to me, that I send out love to her and she reflects so much beautiful love back to me. And that plants and animals can just be, they don't have ego barriers. They are non-egotistical, beautiful reflectors and absorbers and senders of love. And in this way, they're amazing creature teachers that help us to recalibrate from the world of human egos, where someone might be like, don't hug me, like get your hands off of me. Who do you think you are? Like hugging me and all of this. I'm like, let's hug. They're like, no, get away from me. Mostly animals and plants are very open to that sense of loving connection and caring. And that is what our true parent is like. That is what Earth, our true parenthood, is like. That is what sun and stars, our true parenthood, are like. And Angela says, and they don't talk. Communication feels much more pure with them. Absolutely. It is a direct energy type of communication in the sense of feeling state. And you can also tell when plants feel happy and their leaves are all perky and they're looking great, when they're drooping down and their shoulders are down, and it's like that plant is sad, it needs something. And animals, all of that too, in the sense of that, how they act, the way that their body posture is, the way that their non-verbal communication is, and how they are giving to us. When you go through portals, the portals in the sun, you literally bring love with you. And I'll just say this kind of anecdotally, like if you ever had someone in your life that you knew and then they died, maybe in life they were troublesome to you. Like I'll just say as a like totally fictional example, like maybe your grandma or your great aunt or whatever. And maybe during life, she was very critical of you, like sit like a lady, like do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And it drove you crazy as a girl. But then when they pass on, they're like, you don't remember that. Like all you remember is like they had kindness. They gave you something nice as a gift. Like you don't remember that they were always, telling you like, sit up straight or like, your hair isn't right or, do this, do that, be a lady. So yeah, really the only aspects of our being that are eternal, that go through these portals of eternity are the love-based aspects. So I have so much love with my dog. I have so much love with plants and other animals that I've cared for and connected with humans too. And then also you can love the sun and the stars. You can love your own body presence. You can love what you do. When I talk about time, time is art from Jose Arguelles. People ask me about him sometimes. Arguelles. I'm not sure if I'm even saying his name right, but a teacher who's no longer on earth, but he taught, when I keep talking about him, time is art. The sense of being in love with time, the sense of devoting yourself to each moment being a beautiful creation, like a Fabergé egg of uniqueness and beauty and perfection, that you would never sell a moment for $10, kid. So I'll buy your moment for $10. Be like, my moment is worth an uncountable number of dollars. That is what happens when we begin to recalibrate to be breatharians or pure light eaters. We're like, oh, I am busy doing something with my consciousness right now that is communing directly with the sun and larger levels of intelligence, that I am not going to stop doing that, not for $5, not for 5 million bucks, that this is a more important art project than any other thing that could be going on. That's the level of reality that we are moving into. That is known as personal and planetary ascension. It represents a state change towards pure light. Right now, we're in a semi-material or semi-physical aspect of light being. We feed our pure light body, and we also accept the challenge of maintaining the physical body. And it's also time for a big restructuring on how and where we get and how we define physical resources, so that physical resources flow to us also by being in alignment with our true timelines, which is actual true cosmic lovemaking. So the reason why money exists as an incentive, because it's kind of like, I'll give you $10 to go off your path. Go over there towards the periphery. I'll give you $10 to go in your death. It's like, don't do that for $10, but then how about 10,000, 10 million? And just to think like, maybe I'll go a little closer to death for 10 million. Like you start to think that way. I'm not judging you. I'm also lighthearted. But no, what ends up happening is that we recalibrate to our true value system, and knowing that we will be sustained by being in complete conjunction with the thinker called the sun, that wants you to live in divine harmony with it, performing the tasks every moment that you're supposed to in the cosmic band. Timpanis, play, lactobacillus, digest, human, do your thing. That is how it's supposed to be. And then you have these directives that are innate inside of you. You're like, oh, I just got told what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do it. So we are on that journey of getting to that level of beingness. So we love and accept ourselves in the need for eating physicality food, whatever hamburgers and avocados that we eat, and then know that as we become more and more and more in alignment with this pure coherent light body form, our activity levels and our directives and our value system changes, shifts, and becomes more refined, to the point that every moment is a perfectly crafted Fabergé egg of magical supernatural synchronicities and things that could not be explained or expected or pre-envisioned, and that everything is immersive. You're in a big giant immersive art project that is the most magical, miraculous, supernatural journey that is worth much, much more than $5 to dig a ditch or whatever it is. So any other questions or comments? And I encourage everyone to do your sun gazing practice. It is a practice. That means just like music, you practice it every day. I'm not a piano teacher who's going to hit you if you do it wrong or not enough. It's not like that at all. And it is cumulative, meaning that you accrete light. So you get to be lighter and lighter. The more that you do it, the more you have light inside of you. The light doesn't go away, but you're hungry for new ideas. So you're like, I already saw that. I already learned that. I already got that idea. I'm hungry for new ideas. And the new ideas are, how do we structure a new earth? How does a new body work? How does a new society work? What do we do with our time? Do we drive on roads? Do we have pavement? What do we do with ourselves? How do we do this? What do I do today? What do I do for the next 10 years? What do I do for the next 10,000 years? These are the ideas that, and we are in a constant reciprocal rapport. Like the answer, how come I don't tell you like on your GPS directives, God positioning system, here's where to go in 10,000 years, because you knew something, it's not relevant right now. And the landscape will change over 10,000 years. So if I tell you, go to these coordinates, this is where you're going to be 10,000 years, it's actually not that helpful to you, because everything is constantly being refined, and your coordinates and vectors will change and shift. So please know that. So in asking for your GPS information, say, please tell me what I need to know for my immediate guidance and my near-term, long-term guidance, with the recognition that things can shift. You can go through a portal onto another timeline and then be like, oh, everything has changed and shifted. And guess what? From my experience over the past several weeks, I'm going through portals all the time. Portal after breakfast, portal after lunch. I'm like, because a portal can be getting an email. Like someone sent me an email. Here's a new opportunity that you can do this and that. Here's how you apply. I just went through a portal. Something new just happened and a new thing showed up for me. I do my flying your lasagna dance. I just went through a portal. Shook up the salad dressing of the cosmos, and now all of these new combinations and possibilities are possible. Or walk out your front door and meet somebody new and have a conversation, learn something from them or give something to them. Boom, you just went through a portal. Everything just changed. So all of this is a way of beginning to comprehend that you're in an ever-changing, ever-fluid landscape that is incredibly complex, that is being generated by and managed by or administered by the sun and the stars and stellar networks, and that we are becoming in alignment with those stellar networks and directives. And we also get to jazz our own music, which is a big part of it, that it's not strict determinism, which is where the sun would say, hey kid, hey you, go there, do this, that's it, you're done. It is also the sense in the band, like the conductor says, timpani play, violins play, but you can also be like, conductor, I think we should play this. Like you, during the process of sungazing and planting seeds, get to say things too. You get to generate stuff too. So the act of sungazing, instead of being like, oh, another chore, another thing I have to do, is an empowerment model where you're like, oh, like I get to say stuff and do stuff and make requests and get stuff done. And that is an empowerment thing that you can do with your experience and your time and your light body. And when you get to do that, then life becomes much more fun and free and expansive. So if there are any more questions or comments, I happily open the floor. If not, sometimes I turn off the recording and have a little behind the scenes chat. But I'm going to make sure I got through everything in the chat. If anyone has anything else to say, you're invited to unmute and share what you'd like to share. Chiki might want to unmute. She might have something to say. I will say thank you very much for being with me on this journey, because it's been a long time. When I look at that video that I recorded 10 years ago, I'm like, wow, like what, like that's just, I've been teaching this class for a long time. We've been learning about sun gazing for a long time. I've been doing sun gazing for 20 years. We're really making, it's a long journey. It's like a cross-country, cross-continental, amazing migration. And we've gone a very far amount. So my recognition to all of you as beings that are on the journey. Angela says, thank you, much love to you and Chiki and to everyone. Much love back. Remember, you will remember this. You will remember this feeling of love, and you will take it with you as something that is eternal. This is incredibly valuable. Yeah, I'm so profoundly grateful. So I'll end the recording. We don't have to end our conversation. Thank you.